I don't understand. Oh, we're at about 48%. Oh, look at that. You just got jacked. Nice. Welcome to YouTube. Well, we're on it.
No, I know.
Okay, good. And it's not showing you.
I have it. We're fine.
All right, cool. So, all of our people watching, welcome to Game Day 716 episode.
I think 20.
I think we're on 20 now. Yeah. So we should be good at this, and we're still not. But hey, so you have Noah, Todd, and CJ tonight. No Paul. He is not here, so he is healing up. Went through a minor, I don't know what he had, but operation, and you can't hear us.
I can hear you fine. I just mute myself so that you don't hear the kids in the background.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying.
Gotcha.
I can't anticipate when they're going to be loud, so I'm just going to like keep it on.
Oh yeah, no, it's okay.
All right. Paul
It's
said
okay.
something to me today, so I wanted to make sure that I'm like on point, like trying to.
It's all good. It's all good.
Right.
We're a family show. We're all a family. So yeah, me, Noah, CJ, we're here, the three bearded ones. CJ, what's up?
Oh, nothing, man. Super pumped about the draft. Happy about the guys we took. But besides that, nothing much.
Good. So that's actually a good place for us to start. It's allegedly a good place to start, and Noah's having problems. So, all right. So you like the draft, huh? How much of it did you watch, or are you just talking about the Bills in particular?
The Bills in particular, but I watched, I kept up with most of it. I didn't really have a way of watching it on, I don't have NFL Network or nothing like that. So I kind of just kept up with it on the app and just kind of saw everyone that was picked. And then, but at first I wasn't, I was nervous. I don't know. 2 DNs in the first 2 rounds made me a little bit weary. I'm like,
Yep.
But then the more I think about it and how the AFC is going to run through Kansas City for the next, 4 or 5 years, I'd say, you have to have those guys on the front line that can get pressure. And, I think that's what they were really going for.
Yeah, I agree. That seems to make a lot of sense. No, you got to go on mute. There we go. I thought so too. I liked the guys that they actually took to. They seem like high ceiling guys, and I like that. Only problem is there's a low floor, I think, for him as well.
Yeah.
Especially with Rousseau.
Yeah, I heard comparisons to Maven, and I was just like, I don't want to hear that at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't think that's gonna happen. But he seems like a hardworking kid. He wants to come to, he's excited about coming to Buffalo, which is cool. Has Buffalo connections, which I thought was cool. He was like a straight A student and everything, which is something the Bills seem to look for. Top of his class, if not top of his team, I guess. One of those two. Either way, he was smart for someone who went to Miami. I don't know where that quantifies in the whole scheme of things.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I like the Rousseau pick. And then, like you said, they went defensive end back to back. What'd you think of Basham?
I kind of like Basham a little bit more than I liked Russo. How do you say it? Russo? Russo?
I think it's Rousseau.
It's
Russo.
You
Okay.
can call him Groot.
Yeah. There you go. I just have like with all those O's and U's, I get like confused and trying to pronounce it, but I kind of like Basham a little bit more where we got him. Now I'm not upset about the Rousseau pick, but I kind of felt like Basham in that second round. I think he's shown, he'll be a solid contributor. Like you said, he's got a high ceiling. I just like the value for him there. I think he was supposed to go a little bit higher, and but we ended up getting him there, so I was happy with it.
So, looking at the entire draft, who did you think did well?
Entirety, I think Jacksonville got a lot better. I mean, I was saying before, like during the draft, I was saying how that guy was ridiculous for comparing what Indy had before they got Luck to what Jacksonville has now. But after they drafted, I don't know if, I think they're a little bit more ready to play and ready to be a contender sooner rather than later with what they did. So
yeah, that makes sense.
I thought Jacksonville did well. What about you?
Any thoughts?
I agree with the Jacksonville take. I mean, it's kind of hard to mess up when they have so many picks.
That's true. That was one of the things that I kept noticing about winners and losers. It was like all the teams with like not as many picks as the ones with all the picks seemed to be like the less the picks, the more you were of a loser. And it's like, well, of course they have more chances to like get good players. So I don't know, I mean, the Bills seem to grade out around a B- or a C from what I kept reading, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Jacksonville. I think I don't know, Chicago probably.
I think Dallas.
You liked what Dallas did?
Yeah.
Yeah. What I saw, and I guess this was something that sort of bugged me about the Bills draft, is that it seemed like they were drafting for the future a little bit more than the now. And they the thing that bothered me when I saw the rest of the draft was a lot of teams I felt got closer to the Bills, while the Bills didn't. I don't know how much the Bills improved.
Because I mean, Miami did really well with what they had. I mean, they picked really good players and really good draft position. Like, I don't think they really reached on anything early, obviously, because I think when you get into the later rounds, that's just kind of dumb. But I mean,
yeah, we're not talking about reaches today. We
covered all that last week.
We beat that horse last time.
But I mean, Miami did well. I mean, the Jets might have a competent QB now, and they got another lineman to put on the other tackle side. So the Patriots, I mean, they got Mac Jones, and Bill Belichick was this close to retiring, and then they got Mac Jones, and he's like, I want to coach.
I'm never going to retire again.
Right. He's super excited about getting a young rookie QB again.
I'm unretiring, even though I never retired.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not saying, I mean, you can't, it's like what we said about New England going into last year. They're not going to be knocked off until they're going to be knocked off. And I think you can say the same thing for us, where I don't think we're underdogs to win the AFC East because we won it last year, but I don't think it's a wild stretch to say it might be close if things go right, obviously, for Miami and New England.
Yeah, I think that's what scares me a little bit is I think what scares me a little bit is, like, I don't know, a show or two ago, I think we were talking about Bills schedules, and we were talking about the Bills kind of rolling through the AFC East. That seemed to be a bit of a sentiment. And while there will be, I don't know if you want to count Tua as a rookie, but 3 inexperienced quarterbacks probably. I mean, it depends on where you see Tua, and it depends on whether New England starts Mac Jones or not. But when you have 3 inexperienced quarterbacks, but the rest of the team around them seems to be built really well. Again, it seems like the other teams just got closer. I think the Jets are still furthest away.
Yeah.
And then it seems to me like, I think the one thing that I forgot about was that New England had 9 guys opt out last year from COVID.
And it was mostly all defensive guys too.
Right. And it was mostly all defense. So,
yeah, that's what I was going to get at was these guys, the offenses are still kind of a question mark, right? So like if you look at Cam and you look at Tua and you look at, we just took the Jets out of there, I guess, because we said that they were furthest behind. But if you look at specifically Cam, you look at Tua, how are those offenses going to move forward, right? So how are they going to get better? How are they going to, be able to keep up with the better teams in the league? And that's what it'll come down to, because I don't think the question on those teams is the defense. As far as Miami goes, I think their defense is solid. They play well for the coach. Same with New England, with the 9 guys coming back, I think, that won't be as much of a question mark as it was last year. So it's all going to come down to those quarterbacks. Tua, obviously, in my opinion, from what I watched a lot of Miami games. They killed me a few times in betting because I thought they'd get crushed, and then, you know what I mean, their defense would keep it in it. But so I watched, but he didn't finish games the way I thought he would, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Coming from, the pedigree he had and the teams he played for in college, and he didn't finish the games. And then Cam, just there seems something off with him. I don't know if it was the COVID issue or getting used to the system or whatever, but it's all going to come down to that offense. I don't think the defense is really the question for those teams at the moment.
Yeah. I mean, I've been hammering on Cam, and again, being the second year in the system, my whole theory on that, I just think Cam's going to have a good year.
I agree.
And if that happens, then 4 wins may be the ceiling.
Yeah.
You mean like us in the division?
In the division?
Yeah, because I mean, I agree with what you're saying about what we're saying about the Jets, because I mean, I think there's just too many holes on that team for them to just fix in one draft. So I would bank in 2 wins against the Jets. I agree. I think it's only going to be 4, but I think it could possibly be 5.
Right.
But
I don't think any of us think we're going to sweep the division now.
No. You're gonna lose at least 1 game in the division.
Yeah.
I mean, if they don't, hey, that's cool. But I mean, looking at it now, I mean, you did
honestly
next to nothing to prepare yourself for next year after. But the thing that really I think bothered me about that was you're hammering home, or you have been hammering home, this idea that you want to get a Super Bowl in before you have to pay Josh. And now it seems that they're moving away from that win now and want like a dynasty, and they have like a 15-year plan instead of like a 5. which was what we thought it was when McDermott was hired, that he walked in with the big binder, like we were talking about,
Right. And he said, I'm gonna take this team now and we're gonna do this.
Right.
I mean,
see your point.
you could also view it like the coaching staff looks at it like, okay, we have solid players at, a good amount of positions. Like there's not huge needs at any one position, I would say. And that being the case, why not take a chance on these guys that, hey, if they do well, they'll take over the position and they'll be key starters for a long time. And if they don't, well, we already got guys that are there that can play, right? So I mean, it's tough. It's tough to because that could help now or could help later. So
yeah, I think we can probably agree that Hughes won't be back after this season, right? Mm-hmm. Addison won't be back after this season, so you have two defensive end spots wide open.
Yeah,
and there's a reason they took 2 defensive ends in the first round, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And then they go and they draft a 6'9" offensive tackle who's faster than Lee Smith. And I don't know how much.
And has played tight end.
Yes. But and who's the I always want to say Williams. Who's the right tackle?
Yeah, Williams. Darrell Williams.
Oh yeah, Darrell. Okay. And Darrell Williams is really under a 1-year contract. So even though it's a 3-year deal, the Bills save $7.2 million, I think, if they cut him after this season. So I guess they needed a swing tackle, so they went for it. Hopefully one of these guys can play this year. They lost Dean Marlowe. DeMar Hamlin seems like, based upon everything I've read about him, that he might be able to step right into that spot. I don't know much about Wild Goose or Jack Anderson or, everything I'm reading is fat chance of making the roster. Isaiah McKenzie seems to now have some competition at returner.
Mm-hmm. Because Bean said in his post draft that they wanted to get Stevenson not just because he's tall and fast, mm-hmm. but because he has experience in both kick returning and punting returning, which is something that McKenzie lacks.
Well, he scored 3 touchdowns on kick returns and 3 touchdowns on punt returns in his college career.
He lacks. Okay, but
no, I'm saying that's a high number.
Oh, that is. Are you saying Stevenson or McKenzie?
Stevenson.
Oh, okay.
In his college career.
I thought you said McKenzie because I was like,
no. Yeah, I'm talking about Stevenson.
Yeah, so that's something not to that's something to raise an eyebrow over when you're looking at prospects.
Yeah,
if you want to take a look at their draft picks and think about who's probably going to make the roster. You're right. You're probably stopping at Hamlin, and that's if Hamlin has a good camp.
I think he'll make the roster.
Doyle is out.
No, Doyle's going to make the roster. I think their top 6 should make the roster. I think Wild Goose and Anderson go to practice squad, and we probably never hear of them again. But so who screwed up more, the Jets or the Niners?
Niners. They're gonna regret it.
I think the Packers. I know that wasn't the question, but
well, we're gonna get to the Packers in a little bit, but
okay.
So are you higher on Wilson or Trey Lance? Given their situations too.
Yeah.
Given their situations,
San Fran. Yeah, I'm higher on Lance than.
Yeah, I suppose he has a better group around him too.
Can we just acknowledge though, like
Oh.
how Josh Allen has changed the way that people like have drafted? Now I get that they're always gone for that like raw upside, but like I feel like if Allen didn't progress the way that he progressed the past 2 years, I don't think Lance would be considered top 5. So it's like, you know, I think that has some residual effect on his status, on his draft status.
Yeah. Like my new 26 shirt.
Love it.
Came today.
Looks great.
Yep. That was Josh Allen's memo to Trey, right?
Yep.
In the draft. So
yeah, I mean, yeah, if you're looking, I mean, they already tried this with Darnold. I mean, I'm not saying that Wilson and Darnold are the same, but I mean, you're basically throwing Zach Wilson.
Sam Wilson
Wilson would be a different.
That'd be a good quarterback.
You're basically throwing Zach Wilson into the same situation that Sam Darnold was failed in, essentially.
Right.
So I mean, unless there's about to be some sweeping change in the way the Jets organization be the Jets, I mean, Trey Lance is in the better situation because Kyle Shanahan. I mean, his offensive mind and the way he can be a quarterback guru. I mean, Matt Ryan had his best career with him as offensive coordinator, and then Shanahan left to go be head coach, and now what is Ryan?
But done? now Matt Ryan has Pitts.
Oh yeah.
So it might be a little different of a thing dealing with Ridley, Julio, and Pitts.
I mean, it could be, but I mean, that's still, they still need to have Pitts to make Ryan better.
Well, every team needs good players to make their players better.
And I understand that, but I mean, Kyle Shanahan didn't have Kyle Pitts, and Matt Ryan was almost MVP.
He was MVP.
He was?
Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go. That proves my point even more. I do want to say, though, I think the Trey Lance pick is good for San Francisco because I think they're not now going to get rid of Garoppolo. They're going to let Garoppolo be there, and then they're going to get rid of him.
Yeah, Garoppolo is going to turn into a Fitzpatrick / Tyrod Taylor kind of guy going forward, do we think?
Most likely. But
I think he's a little bit better than
that they're only going to regret not taking Fields because I think Fields is just going to have a better career and that he's a better player than Lance is. But like, I don't think but I think it's going to be like one of those like, oh, well, did you want like, this might be a bad comparison, but like Roethlisberger or Manning, kind of like they're both still good QBs, but like one was a little bit more successful than the other, had a little bit better career. They're both going to the Hall of Fame, but one has a stronger resume than the other.
So you think Trey Lance is going to the Hall of Fame?
No, I don't think
Manning is going to the Hall of Fame.
I'm not saying neither that they're going to the Hall of Fame. I'm just saying.
Oh, he meant Peyton.
Yeah, you meant Roethlisberger and Manning, right? And it was Eli you were referring to, not Peyton.
I was not Peyton. I was referring to Eli.
I think Eli's
they were in the same draft class. Yeah, I don't know if he's guaranteed, but
no, that's what I'm saying. Like Roethlisberger's going in. Like when he retires, to me, Roethlisberger is a first ballot.
What?
To me, you can make, but for Manning, I think you can make the case that
this is gonna get good. Okay.
I think for Eli that you can make the case that he won't be a first ballot. But I think
go ahead
that you can still make the case that they're both going to get in. But I think Roethlisberger is going to get in before Manning. Like,
I don't know. You know, the first ballot thing, I mean, I think it applies more to receivers and that kind of thing. I think if you're getting in as a quarterback, you're getting in or you're not.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think they both will. All I'm saying, like, and that's what I'm saying about Trey Lance and Justin Fields, is that they're both going to be good players, but but all it's going to be is hindsight 2020. It's going to be like the debate of Allen and Mahomes. That's what it's going to be. Honestly, if that's actually a better comparison, it's going to be the Allen and Mahomes debate, but it's going to be with Lance and Fields. What could have been with Fields in 49er land? Oh, well, where would Lance have gone then? How would that have been different? Because, I mean, if Fields gets the job from Dalton, even though he was told he was going to get it.
When did we jump to Fields? Were you on that train?
You asked
we were started at
who's going to
Fields.
regret it more? The Jets or the 49ers?
Well, the Jets didn't take Fields.
Well, right.
I think he was just saying that they feel like they missed out. Yeah. Getting him if he does well.
I think the Jets won't care, because I think that's the way Joe Douglas is that he's one of those GMs where he's like, if he's my guy, he's my guy, and then when he's not, he's not. I think doing that, and you saw that with Darnold.
Right.
I mean, he kept him around when he probably could have gotten rid of him, had moved on, gotten a different QB and tried sooner. But I think he tried to keep Darnold and see if he would go, but he didn't do enough around him to make him better either.
You know what's kind of funny about the whole Darnold, Bridgewater, or whatever thing? I forgot Bridgewater was on the Jets and actually played well.
Yeah. So did I.
Bridgewater was on the Jets?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was on the Jets. Yeah.
For like a year or two, I think.
Not Geno Smith?
Not Geno, no.
Okay. So I thought that's what you were talking about.
Nope.
No, because when Bridgewater was on the Jets, Darnold was drafted to replace him, and then Bridgewater got traded, and then now Carolina traded for Darnold and then traded away Bridgewater.
Right.
What I think is funny is when Darnold came out, he was touted as like one of the best prospects to come out in a long time. Like I remember, like not a long time, but like Luck or whatever. Yeah. Well, when that happened, and it's just so funny how I just think it shows how disorganized that Jets organization is that, to let him go after 3 years, and he was supposed to be a generational talent. Like something went wrong. It's
the first time a team has done that.
Yeah.
Has taken a first overall.
Not first overall, but.
Yeah. That they've taken a guy in the first top 3, maybe.
Yeah.
And then done it again within 3 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. That. I think it just shows how the organization is and what they've done recently. Or lack thereof.
Lack thereof. Yeah. So back to the 49ers. Now, allegedly, they offered a ton for Aaron Rodgers, and Green Bay didn't take it. Who is the loser in that?
Well, I mean, I look at it like they were. I wonder what would happen after the draft. Like, I get that, 49ers went quarterback or whatever, but like, I almost feel like things deteriorated worse throughout the draft and after the draft, whereas after they would be willing to do it. Whereas before they weren't really like, oh, well, we'll figure it out, and I think they kind of are starting to realize like, hey, I don't think we're going to be able to figure this out. And so I think they missed their opportunity to get, now Rodgers will go, like he'll have no problem going, wherever he really wants to go, but they have to come to the conclusion that it ain't repairable. And I don't think it is anymore. I was saying even before the draft, I mean, you had said that I think he'll be gone. I can't remember what you said. End of May. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like at the end of May or
no, he said by the end of the draft.
Oh, okay.
He said by the end of the draft. He owes me money.
Yep, I do.
So
right. And prior to the draft, I'd said I'd agreed with you, Todd, and I said, no way, he's not going to be gone. But after, now obviously it didn't happen during the draft, but I just mean that after the draft, I feel a lot different than I did prior to the draft. And I don't know why. I don't know if it's because of the reports that all came out.
Now.
Like, it's crazy how fast things happen.
I'm with you. I think that they may trade him now. I think there's more of a possibility than me just saying not a chance.
Yeah.
Like I was saying before, I rack my brain for where the right opportunity is for that. Yeah. And there's only a couple places I could think of where teams would get something fair out of it. I think if Green Bay wanted to try and do something with Deshaun Watson and have some sort of you'll have to be good in Green Bay because
what does Houston have that would entice Rodgers to go there though?
I don't know, Tunsil or whatever. I don't know.
There you go. No wide receivers, right? So the guy he wanted last year,
still
Fuller,
Brandon Cooks, right?
Yeah. Well, he wanted Fuller. I think halfway through the season, wanted them to make a push for Fuller. They were like, I remember reading that last year.
Yeah.
And so now he's gone, right? And so I could see the connection there. Okay, he's got Fuller, he's got Cooks, whatever. You know what I mean? But I don't, we're talking about an organization. He's going from an organization that was clearly looking into the future, right? With how they were drafting guys they were taking and not thinking about the now and his success in the now. So how do you go to a team that clearly is not fit for anything more than that right now? You know what I mean? So like they're going to continue to look to the future, Houston, right? They're not going to, unless they redo a few things, unless they're like, okay, well, we'll get you in and then we'll get another, try to get another wide receiver. I don't know if that's even possible, but like,
right.
Something similar to the Diggs trade.
Maybe Green Bay doesn't want Watson back because they have Love and they say, give us a bunch of picks. And then Houston can then pivot and trade Watson to Denver or something for a bunch of guys.
Yeah.
So Denver's another team though that makes sense for Rodgers.
Yeah. I think so. And then Bridgewater's backing up another top 5 quarterback. So it's like
Hall of Famer.
You just got yeah. So it's funny how that works out. But I like the chances of Denver because of Elway. I think Elway is that guy that will go after someone like that. No problem. And give up.
He's not the GM anymore though.
Oh, he's not? He's player personnel, or
they
what is
elevated him to, I don't know. They elevated him to some John Elway or special position.
Oh,
yeah, essentially.
Yeah, they weren't liking what he was doing.
Well, he was a big swinger.
He doesn't know how to evaluate quarterbacks.
Yeah, he was a big swinger. He takes big swings, and he missed on them, unfortunately. And that won't last long in the league.
Right.
Drew Lock is his lasting
project. Legacy.
Right.
It's Drew Lock.
Yeah.
No, but he did take big. I mean, you're right with Peyton and with. Like
I just mean he went after quarterbacks, fairly hard. He had a guy in mind and he went for him. Didn't matter, like what everybody else thought or what position they, where they went in the draft, whatever, he went for him. You know what I mean? And I think that just shows the type of person he is. Now, the return you got off Peyton, like, I think any team would sit there and say, if I can get that same return that they got off Peyton for 3-4 years, Super Bowl with it, I'm taking it. You know what I mean? So I don't see any other way.
Definitely. But and Rodgers would basically be the exact same situation as Peyton going there. You know, and they have a pretty good set of receivers. Yeah. If that's what he's looking for. I guess I would say I'm surprised. I mean, we don't know the players who were involved in the San Francisco trade, but
we know nothing.
I mean, the rumors are that they were pretty good players. and I'm surprised Green Bay didn't take it, but I think they were probably where you and I were, just, oh, this won't continue to escalate, he'll get over it kind of thing. And
yeah,
I'm still struggling to find other teams, who maybe Las Vegas, maybe, my other team who could do a 1-for-1 was, okay, how about this Russell Wilson 1-for-1?
Yeah. And then they could both go just win Super Bowls with those teams and then just retire.
Well, LaFleur is like 12 years old or something. So, I mean, he's going to be there for a while. Who? Matt LaFleur in Green Bay.
No, I meant like Wilson and Rodgers.
Oh, well, Wilson is a lot younger.
Yeah.
I know.
I think Carroll is an acquired taste. So I don't know if like Rodgers would be sitting there like, yeah, I want to go to that guy and play for that nut job. You know what I mean? Like,
but do you want to go? Do you want to go throw to DK Metcalf and TJ Lockett?
Oh yeah, true. Will you just deal with his shenanigans to throw to those guys? I think so. For a couple of years, why not?
Right.
Yeah.
You have other teams, Noah?
Yeah. I mean, I think Tennessee would be. I think Tennessee might be an interesting choice. I mean, even though Tannehill has played well there, I think that's one of those situations where it's like if you
can get the MVP,
right? If you can get Aaron Rodgers, and that you have to give up Tannehill some picks and maybe I don't know somebody on defense, I would do that. I mean, what does Tannehill bring you where you're going to turn that deal down?
Yeah, no, I agree.
Well, it depends. It depends what you have to give up. Because I don't know, if I'm Green Bay, I'm Green Bay, do I say I have a guy we've been developing for a year, or do I take Tannehill? Right? Or do I ask them for 4 number 1 picks instead?
Yeah, I mean, they don't have to get Tannehill back. I mean,
right.
If you're Tennessee, I mean, I don't think that really would matter to you.
You can move Tannehill to Denver, right? I mean,
right. Or you could just keep him.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I mean, he's an upgrade over a lot of quarterbacks, right? It's just he's not an upgrade over Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
That's
right. It's funny how
much where you would
more
say no.
Yeah.
Go ahead. What?
I think it's funny how much more how much more I root for Tannehill now that he's outside the AFC East. It's like before I was like, oh, he tore his ACL again. Oh,
right.
Great. They'll be terrible for another 3 years. You know what I mean? And now that he's gone, it's like,
yeah,
I still don't really like him, but at the same time, like I can't hate on what he's done in Tennessee. Like it's tough. You know what I mean? Like he has been fairly
impressive.
Solid. I mean, now I don't know how much that has to do with Henry being your running back and that fact that you can do a play action and guys will, just totally move away from your quarterback. But, I don't know how much that has to do with it. I'm sure it has a lot, but I again, you can't hate on the guy and how he's played more recently.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's one quarterback, and I was given this stat earlier today. There's one quarterback in the history of the NFL who has thrown 40 touchdowns and 7 interceptions or less 3 times in their career. Anyone know who that is?
Well, I know who that is because I'm the one who gave you the stat. So as CJ, do you know who it is?
What name or say the stat one more time?
40 touchdowns and 7 interceptions or less.
There's 3 guys who have done it.
It's happened 3 times.
So you're saying that one guy has done it 2 times?
Yeah, can you name the QBs?
One guy has done it 3 times.
One guy has done it 3 times. Obviously, currently still playing. Rodgers?
Yep.
Okay, because I know his was really low last year, like interception ratio or whatever. So
yeah, that's in the history of the league.
Now, what do I win?
You can have.
Can I get one of those game day stickers?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll
All right,
send them.
sweet. I'm happy.
Send them your way. I have
I'm happy.
magnets, stickers. I'll send you a
I need
flag.
everything.
Yeah, you can get it. I'll send you a T-shirt, whatever you need.
Perfect. Yes.
You know, I mean, when we were talking about Tennessee, you were saying, well, Tannehill, like, what do you do with him? I mean, another team that they could look at is the Giants, or that could look into it as the Giants.
I was thinking that too.
Daniel
I
Jones.
I don't see them. I mean, and this goes with the Wilson deal too. Are you going to trade Rodgers to an NFC team?
Yeah.
Where
I just
you
don't
would see
think
him down
Giants
the
are
road?
good enough to the point where he wants to go there. You know, he's going to have control over where he goes.
Mhm.
Like, they're not just going to be able to put him to, you know, some dumpster fire and he's going to be okay with it. So it's like,
Well,
what do the Giants have that he would want to go there for him and play for them? And not to mention,
they drafted a receiver, right?
They
Yes.
did. Yeah, they drafted Tony and they drafted a bunch of defensive guys, you know, to help bulk that up. I mean, they're not close to a Super Bowl, but the way you can make the argument for that is what you're saying is the Giants have a lot of picks coming in the future.
Yeah, like we'll put this
So
whole
you
team
can
around
say-
you.
Right. Well, right. And you can also say to Rodgers, we'll take your input because that's what he wanted in Green Bay and they didn't give it to him.
Mhm.
And that's why they're in this situation. So I think that's how you can make that case. Now, he doesn't have a Devontae Adams there, but I think you can make the case that Saquon Barkley is better than Aaron Jones. He's young. Well, he's younger at least. He's more athletic. I think he's faster. So he
I
might
don't
not
know
be
that he
better.
I don't know that he makes the team better. Like if you swap the two, do either of them make the team better or worse that you swap them?
Maybe not, but I think that they're just two different running backs. I mean, but I think that, and this goes back to what CJ point was, and what you guys were talking about with Derrick Henry was this is another running back who's fast, who can catch, who can, you know, be athletic, that you can run really quick play actions with and not get killed, you know, and do all that stuff. I think the Giants' biggest selling point is
Barkley.
Well, not Barkley, but them saying to Rodgers, we'll take your input.
I think
Yeah.
what they would
you
I
could
think
be in
what
the
they
room.
would have to say is, okay, we got Kenny Galladay, right?
Oh, I forgot they had Galladay. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's not terrible.
So we added Kenny Galladay. And we will look into using our picks to trade for players instead of using them through the draft over the next couple of years. Because if I'm Rodgers, I would have to say to them, I can't wait. I can't waste a year.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
While we go to the next draft, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, I understand, but I mean, and I think I disagree with you guys when it comes to like how much sway Rodgers has, because I think at a certain point, Green Bay is going to stop embarrassing themselves trying to trip over each other to say how much they love Aaron Rodgers, and like realize, like you said, CJ, that it's not going to be repairable. So I think it's a once, but I think the way they're going to come to that realization isn't like, oh, we should just respect what he wants. It's going to be like, well, F you. Like this relationship is fractured. You're done. Bye. So I think.
Okay, but even if that's the case, you need to make it look like you're doing the best for Rodgers because you have to get the most you can.
Right.
Well, which is why you can also with the Giants, because even in the Justin Fields, they got an additional first round pick, so that's 2. They have a bunch more picks in the future. You can put conditions on that pick if you really wanted to. You know, like you can do all this different stuff where you might be looking at the Giants and going, you have enough mid-tier talent where I can I can just take Barkley or something. But you have enough mid-tier talent, you have enough draft picks where if you incorporated this huge deal together, probably something to similar to what the 49ers had, they'll take it.
They'll trade all their receivers.
Well, I mean, they have some good DBs. They have one of their safeties is really good. Because they've
I know.
never been
I was just
able...
joking. I was just joking.
Oh,
because it would be irony if they took Darius Slayton and Sterling Shepard and
right,
whoever, and then traded them to Green Bay for Rodgers.
Yeah,
that's all. So CJ, Tom Wilson, we're switching leagues. Did you see the hit last night?
No. Tell me about it.
Noah has a rant, so he's gonna explain it first before he goes on the rant.
So it was the Rangers and the Capitals. The Rangers were at home. Apparently, what ended up happening, it was chippy all throughout the game, like a normal hockey game. But like around the time when this happened, it started to get a little bit more intense. There were reports. I mean, I obviously didn't watch the game. I just saw the videos of what happened. But the Caps fans that were defending Wilson were saying, Buchnevich and Panarin were like hacking at the Capitals goalie Vanacek.
They weren't.
And that they were, antagonizing the Capitals guys, and the Rangers players were not just Panarin and Buchnevich. But what ended up happening was Vanacek ended up covering the puck. The Capitals didn't like how close Buchnevich was to Vanacek, so somebody grabs Buchnevich from behind, and it's Wilson. And then is like but it's like it's at this point it's a general just get off of my goalie
hockey play.
Yeah, but then I think Wilson says something or somebody says something, because then Buchnevich immediately turns around and like shoves him, and then Wilson starts just going nuts. He starts going at him, and then like they all come together, and then Panarin tries to get involved and tries to pull Wilson off of Buchnevich, and then Wilson turns around, basically bear hugs Panarin, grabs him by the hair, and throws him down onto the ice face first, and pushes his face into the ice by his hair, then lets him go and sits on him while he starts punching the back of his head while the refs are trying to get him off of him.
And so the punishment for this came down from the NHL, and Wilson didn't even get any suspension.
He got a $5,000 fine, which is the maximum allowable. And Artemi Panarin's season is now over.
Yeah, Panarin's out for the year now.
Well, I was about to say, yeah, like if you look again, go to UFC. If you punch a guy in the back of his head, you're disqualified and you're out for the rest of it. You've lost that fight. So like to punch somebody in the back of their head,
and he pulled his hair.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just punching somebody in the back of the head has so many health related issues that can happen because you're punching somebody in the back of the head. And so like that worries me, because, you're talking, what's the next step? Like, so if that doesn't just end or whatever, they don't get them apart and it escalates to another level where he's actually, does more damage. That's scary. You know what I mean? That's scary to see. Nobody wants to watch that on national television. Nobody wants to think about that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And I'm with you.
Yeah. I missed it on the Buchnevich one. So besides throwing him to the ice, the way he pushed him to the ice was Wilson took his stick and put it into the back of Buchnevich's neck, and then pushed him down with it and held him down with his stick.
Oh my God.
And that's when Panarin jumped. That's when Panarin jumped in.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Panarin started to wanted to throw down basically. And I mean, you follow hockey, Panarin
Obviously
isn't exactly a fighter. So he then and Wilson took him down really fast, then just dropped him again right to his knees, grabbed his hair, then smashed his head on his face on the ground. I mean, on the ice,
And during the game, he was only given 2 roughing minors and a 10-minute misconduct. So all he had to do was miss that period, and then he came back out. And then Panarin and Buchnevich were also called for roughing.
Yeah, that was the crazy part to me. Was the Panarin
so Wilson is the guy that did it, right? Wilson is the guy that okay.
And
I'm just making sure I'm understanding.
Yeah, and he has a really long history of being a bad guy in the league.
Dirty.
Doing these kind of things. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for.
Yeah, I mean he had 7 games for boarding in March. He had 14 games, which was reduced from 20 for an illegal check to the head in 2018, which was pretty bad. He had 4 games for boarding in 2017 and another 2 games for interference in 2017. So, I mean, he has a track record.
Yeah.
So, I don't understand how you're sitting there as the player safety people and you're looking at this and you know who this is. You know this guy. Everybody knows that Tom Wilson is just a POS. And that's the way he plays hockey, is that he's that type of player. And you have those guys, but it's like Wilson takes it over the line. He's like a psychopath. He just doesn't care. And the way the way you saw an example of that, of the way he thinks it's all funny, is he stood in the penalty box with his jersey completely pulled off, just showing his pads, smiling like a madman and puffing out his chest and trying to look like Superman. And he's just standing there smiling about it.
Yeah.
After he injured a guy and almost snapped this dude's neck. What is your problem, essentially? Because I mean,
that's the way he plays. So
I understand that's the way he plays, but that's not a hockey play.
Here's the
that
thing
was the thing that I was told last night as well.
Here's the thing about Wilson, right? Is he's a dirty player, probably the dirtiest in the league.
Yeah.
What
do you think?
I can't think of another guy.
But
I can't think of another guy who does that.
Right.
Yeah.
But he plays on their first line. I mean, he has talent as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where the league has a problem with him and suspending him, because apparently the owners have already went to George Peros, who is the
it started under Shanahan. Yeah, they said stop being as aggressive.
George Peros is the director of punishment, whatever, for the league, and they said stop suspending players because we need our players on the ice.
Right.
And now the Rangers put out a press conference, or they sent out something that press release that said, we condemn Tom Wilson's acts, and this is a terrible thing, and he took Panarin out for the season, and we think George Peros should be fired, and all this stuff, when they're one of 30 owners who have gone to the safety folks and said stop suspending players.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's kind of hypocritical on the Rangers side.
Yeah.
But I also think, Wilson is super dirty, but the fact that he has skill too gives the league a huge problem.
Yeah.
But you're not going to a Capitals game to watch Tom Wilson.
But you are going to watch Alex Ovechkin, and they play on the same line.
Yeah. Okay. Which is probably the highest, one of the highest scoring lines in the NHL, or close to it.
Right. So,
yeah, I mean, that's crazy. You're continuously putting people at risk by doing it. And it's crazy to me that, we're getting into the same kind of politics as the NFL, because the hockey is usually not known for that. And so it's crazy to me when you got guys sitting there saying to organization to management to people up high, hey, this guy is, he's going to hurt somebody, and the fact that what you just said, Todd, basically was that it's more important to let this guy play and keep our ratings up than it is to check on these players and make sure that they'll be safe. And so that's a big issue in the NFL right now, with guys saying, right, the owners don't care about us. We want longevity, right? The players want longevity, want to be there a long time. Owners want to chew them up and spit them out. And so it's kind of like, you don't really hear of that aspect within hockey. And now for that to be happening, it blows my mind that, they're not doing anything about it and that they're allowing it to happen. And again, like you said, like I just said, they're pretty much saying that they take views and ratings higher than the safety of players. And that's going to cause an issue internally with the players and the management, right? Because it's going to get to the point where there's going to be these standoffs, where a guy says, okay, well, I want to make sure that this and this is covered and that I'm safe. And if you can't say that you guarantee that that's going to be the case, then I'm not going to play. And then you're really going to have ratings hit. Then you're really going to have an issue on the back end when you're trying to make some money when the guys won't play for you. You know what I mean? So I think that's crazy, but that's just kind of my take on it.
Yeah, I mean, that's always been a problem in the NHL, though, is that like they value money, they value getting the people to watch the sport over like their own players.
Because I feel that's why you have a players association.
Well,
right?
And that's why you have a CBA. But I feel like every single time when they've negotiated the CBA, it's been like they want to cut. I mean, when they renegotiated the CBA because of COVID, they wanted to cut. They do this huge slash on player salaries, because it was paying them too much money. And I'm like, I get it, because like you still have to run as a business and you still have to operate that way, and you're not getting the same cash flow. But like, you also can't turn around and tell your own employees, well, since I personally can't pay you, and I don't want to pay you as much, even though I probably have the money for it, I'm going to have to slash your salary by 50%. Sorry.
That actually happened in my company during COVID. They told people that instead of firing any of your coworkers, we're going to ask you all to take a 25% pay cut.
Right. I mean, isn't that kind of, so if I'm not mistaken, what is furloughed? Isn't that when you have a job, but then they tell you got to leave for a little bit, but you get paid less money, or no? Right. So
furloughed, you don't get paid.
Oh, you get the unemployment.
Furloughed just means you have a job when you get back.
Okay. And then you go for unemployment.
Like
so in reality,
fired.
You're making less money, right? But they're not technically firing you.
Right.
So it makes them look better for not firing you, but you're not getting anything. You know what I mean? So I get the analogy. Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, that's still not good though.
No,
that's and that's not what I'm saying. Oh, okay. I'm not saying, that's how it should be. I'm saying that's.
But that's a business aspect, right?
Billion. Yeah. Yes.
Unfortunately.
And I mean, it's the league's job. It's the commissioner's job to work for the owners. Mm-hmm. It's not the commissioner's job to work for the players. That's why they have their own union.
Right. And that's why I prefaced it. I mean, I understand why they did it, but I hate the argument that these guys get paid millions of dollars, so why should they care about their salary? And
no, that's not an argument you need to make here, or at least with me.
Okay. But no, I just mean in general, people who say that, it's still their job, it's still their livelihood. And that's kind of where I'm coming from. I'm not trying to make you feel bad for a professional player in the situation that they're in, because they're in obviously a great situation.
Well, I'm just
talking about it subjectively. It's their
regardless
job.
of the player, right? Or your position, or whether you make $1 billion a year or you make $25,000, you live within your means, right? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, these players are spending their money. They're spending the money they make. And then if they're told, oh, well, we don't have money to give you, then they're selling their houses just like anyone else would be. Mm-hmm. in that situation.
Yeah, I mean, Evander Kane had to go into bankruptcy.
Right. He's a special case.
But I'm just.
I was there when he fought
saying,
3 times. What was it? 3 times in one game? I think he fought. I was there that night. I don't know if you guys remember that, but he got in a fight 3 times in one game, and we lost terribly, got crushed. I can't remember if it was like Winnipeg or I can't remember who we played, but it was funny to watch him fight that many times. It's like, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's
back
okay.
to the topic.
It's all good.
You know what I'm saying? But I just think it gets to the point where eventually, like, I don't know, me personally, like, I don't like to see somebody sucker punched. I don't like to see somebody, you know, like if it's a fair fight 1-on-1, that I'll watch that. You know what I mean? Like, not like, you know, if it's a 1-on-1, I'll watch it, you know, see who comes out on top. But as far as, you know, like you said, somebody's head getting smashed into the ground with the, you know, and using the stick to kind of hold them as almost a billy club, you know, hold them down as almost like a billy club, and all that happening just gives me like a bad feeling. And it makes me feel like, you know, and I'm sure a lot of other people feel the same way, that like, why, you know what, you don't want to watch that. You don't want to see that. You know what I mean? Yeah, it happens. It's hockey or whatever. People get hurt. But when you got a guy intentionally doing that, I just think that it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt ratings more than it's going to help them when you got people doing things like that and not being checked for it, you know, or not being checked like they should, I guess. Should be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I say what you say about him being on the top line and whatever, and that he has a talent, but I think at a certain point, I mean, you kind of have to overlook that when you have a guy who's obviously repeating what he's doing over and over again. I mean, you know.
I mean, isn't that a perfect guy to send a message to? I mean, like a guy that's a perennial,
you know,
like perennial abuser of the rules, and he's on the first line of one of the better teams in the league. So who better to show, hey, you know what I mean? Like, we won't tolerate it than that guy, you know what I mean? But
yeah,
I get it. It's a business, you know, first and foremost. That's why they, honestly, like you said, you know, that's why they have a players union, because the owners have just been historically known to not give a F about player health, player safety. And if there was no, you know, if there was no players union, you know, I can only imagine the crazy nonsense that would go on. You know what I mean?
There wouldn't even be a league if there was no players union.
Right. For sure.
That's my take.
I agree.
I mean, each of these leagues were given, you know, rights to act as monopolies, you know, all this kind of stuff. You know, I mean, just way outside of the norm that even a normal billion-trillion-dollar company gets. And, you know, so they would have to have a union to protect the players. And
or quality of the whole thing would go down, I think, you know, because once you don't have that safety in the union, you're going to have people that are going to be like, the better guys are going to be like, nah, I'm good. Whereas you're going to have scrubs that are going to be like, yeah, let me get in there. I'll play right now. You know what I mean? And like, nobody's going to watch that anyways. You know what I mean? So yeah, I get it.
Which is, I mean, you're actually seeing that in football though, with OTAs and voluntary workouts, where you're seeing teams of players saying we're not going to show up. And then like, you know, there's first, I think it was Miami, and then it was Minnesota.
Well, there's like 17 teams now.
Yeah. So, you know, it's a growing thing. And their main thing that the NFLPA said to the NFL was like, well, we're not getting paid for a chance to get injured and either our season or careers to be over.
Yeah.
So why would we go do it?
Yeah. Yep.
And I mean, you got to give it to them. I mean, that's true.
Well,
I mean, in what other job are you unpaid, but said, okay, go do this dangerous activity that might harm you?
Yeah, not get paid.
Not going to pay you.
Yeah, if you get hurt.
But we will down the line, but you have to get through these workouts first.
I think it'd be interesting to see the statistical correlation between injuries on a full off season and injuries like after last year when there was no preseason, not many workouts were being held at that point. And so I would wonder if it either hurts or helps, right? So like, are guys getting hurt more because they're not doing the workouts and because they're not doing preseason, or are they getting hurt less? Which I don't think is the case. I think they're honestly getting hurt more from what I've seen in, with less practice, less workouts, guys just going right out on the field, not being ready, and just, a guy blows his leg out or blows his, knee out, whatever. And I just think that, it'd be interesting to see exactly what the difference is between beginning of last year and how many people got hurt in the first 4 weeks, and what happened the year prior with the full workout and how many people got hurt in those first 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Because then the argument would be, well, you can sit out, but this shows that if you do, you are actually more likely to get hurt than you would if you just played through the workouts. You know what I mean?
Right. Just stay in shape.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like, it always irked me for fantasy purposes. I'm sorry. It always irked me for fantasy purposes when guys would come out and they'd be like, oh, he pulled his hamstring or whatever. It's like, you're not working out your hamstring. You're not stretching your hamstring out before the game starts.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing that this is happening? Like, but go ahead.
All right. So in Europe, right? European football wants to create a super league. So what do we think of the ideas of super leagues in general?
What do you mean by super leagues?
So
that wouldn't work though.
It's the top 12 teams basically with the most money and the most cachet, I would say.
Okay.
Who are saying we want to break away from UEFA and create our own league and have a super league. It would kind of be like the SEC pulling out of NCAA.
Right, and just competing against themselves. I gotcha.
Right.
Yeah.
It's an interesting concept. I mean, I don't think. I think there are just so many teams in soccer, and there are so many teams that then there's so many different divisions, and there's all this stuff that they have that ability to do that.
Yeah.
I just don't think that there's much of that ability here, because I think, and actually this goes back to what you just said. The NHL, the NBA, they were given the right to be a monopoly. I mean, the XFL already the first time failed to go up against the NFL, and then they did okay the second time, but
COVID hit.
And then COVID hit, and they couldn't handle it, but that was also because that was their first year. But I wasn't even going to say that if you looked at their viewership numbers from the first week to the second week, there was almost over 100% drop off. It was 20 million people watched XFL football, and then 2 the next weekend.
Yeah.
And that's not a sustainable product.
I think they were sustainable though the second time around until COVID hit.
I agree that they weren't given that chance. They might be now with The Rock getting involved and everything, but I'm just saying, when it comes to a super league, if there were teams in the NFL that were we want to go create a super league, or hockey or baseball, I don't think that would be able to happen, because I don't think anything can compete with the 4 major sports.
Okay, but let's say in the NFL, right? What if your 8 richest owners went and said, we're creating a new league?
I mean, it might work for a little bit, but it depends on if they're planning to still be owners, if they're planning to run the league together. I mean,
maybe the NFL isn't the best example. What if in baseball, right, you have your perennial winners and your perennial top teams and your teams who make revenue, and then you have these teams who kind of stay around and just exist? I mean, there are teams like that, and So what if they said, okay, 14 of the 32 Major League Baseball teams are actually going to create a league with just good teams.
I mean, if you don't get into specifics, I think it works because you have the fans, you have the groundwork. See, all these other teams that compete, that like the XFL had to grow. They had to get the fans into the seats. They have to get people watching. They have to develop their product. The NHL, the NBA, all those four major sports, they have the developed product. So if like the Yankees took like the Red Sox and like 12 other teams and were like, see ya, they could, I think they would be able to go do that because the teams that are going are probably the teams with the most fans, the teams that are most visible to the world, the teams with the most money. And so that's honestly what you need to start a league.
So in soccer in Europe, that's what's happening. These teams already exist in leagues, right? So it's not like you're creating a new league in that sense. It's almost like a massive realignment or something.
Yeah. I mean, well, you are technically creating a new league because
you are.
It's not like the baseball teams would be able to go back to Manfred and be like, how do we do a CBA or something? Like they can't go and ask
they would have a new commissioner. I think, that the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Mets and whoever would be able to figure out how to create it.
No, I know. I mean, I was just using that as an example. Like they can't go back to the league and be like, hey, you want to help us figure it out? But yeah, I mean, I think it works in theory because what's the difference between watching your team play against 32 baseball teams and then what's, in MLB versus watching them against 14 in a different league? Like, it's smaller and maybe you're hurting the exposure. But I guess you just have to weigh what really matters to you.
Well, there's one of the CJ, you were going to say something. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, so basically what you're saying is the biggest markets would be those teams that would be the ones like the super teams, basically, right? So I think then at that point though, like, so me personally, from like a Buffalo standpoint, like I'm looking at it like, okay, well, if you're telling me that you're going to have only the top markets are going to have a team, right? So that automatically takes away Buffalo, in my mind. And I am not as inclined to watch a league that doesn't have those, like, and I'm sure a lot of the other rural areas, like, I'm trying to think of another.
Are you saying like the Cinderellas kind of thing?
Yeah, well, I'm saying more of like a Buffalo type team. I don't think you're going to have the people view or want to watch from those areas as much as they would with a team that was involved. You know what I mean? So since we're not involved, like, why even watch? Like, I don't really care to watch some, New York City team versus an LA team, every other week. Like, I could care less about that. You know what I mean? I would prefer to watch, my team, or again, even so, just because I'm from Buffalo, I think that there's a lot of people in the surrounding New York area, rural areas, that sit there and watch Bills games. Now, if the Bills were not here, would they switch to a bigger market team such as New York or what? I don't necessarily believe that to be the case, because I think that we are what we are, right? We're the underdogs. We root for the underdogs. That's kind of how, the little guys, so to speak. And that's kind of how we've gotten used to things. So then it's like, okay, get rid of all these little guys and have 7 or 8 huge guys. You're going to get a market because you're like Noah said, you already have a market, but I think you're going to lose viewers in the long run because people are just going to be like, oh, well, I've watched this team 2 weeks ago, or, you know what I mean? Like, and I have no connection to them. So why do I, you know what I mean? And I think that's where you'll have an issue.
Yeah. And then, I do agree with what you're saying. And I mean, that's why I said, you have to figure out what matters to you. because yeah, definitely you're going to lose people.
But one of the things that's happening in Europe with the with the idea of the Super League, all these fans are revolting and they all hate this idea because of how well the Premier League and the Championships League works and all that kind of stuff. And getting relegated and I mean it seems to work, and but they're really revolting, and this is where FIFA came in and said if you don't keep it in line, that these teams won't be, the players on these teams won't be able to play in the Olympics for their home teams. So then it becomes a whole different scenario. So FIFA is trying to work with UEFA to help keep it together. And so then the question becomes, is playing for your home team, your home country, more important than playing for an uber rich contract?
I mean, I think it can be done, because I think, you guys both are right. I think that's just going to happen. If that's what's going to, if they go down that road, that's what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think there's a debate on that with losing the viewers and losing players. But I think at also, though, at a certain point, you'll be able to do enough where you might become ahead of the Premier League.
Right.
If that's what I'm saying. If you're willing to say, I don't care about that stuff, this is what we want to do, you're still going to have underdogs, because not all top teams are
that's
good.
Fair.
And also over time, it might not be super fast, but those teams will get worse. Because just because they're the best team now, general managers move on, assistant managers go, head coaches go to different jobs, players retire.
Okay, but in soccer, there is a definitive hierarchy.
Oh, I know that. I mean, soccer, I don't really know anything about. I'm saying more from our American perspective.
Yeah.
I mean, if we were to do it with one of our leagues, I think it's possible. I agree that I'm on the side of the fans with the soccer ones, because the Premier League does go so well, and these top teams are saying we can do it better, and it's not gonna be better. Like, it's just not.
It could.
It could be.
So let me throw a hypothetical, kind of a pseudo hypothetical. Isn't that what fantasy sports are? Less teams with best players?
I mean, it is exactly what fantasy sports is.
Yeah, but I don't know if you're able to recreate that, because it's not like they're going to redraft.
I mean, isn't that what the Olympics is, or no?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, are we taking
countries? Right.
Yeah.
The best.
So like the US, right? Specifically, if you're taking like everybody in them Olympics is the best from the United States, don't matter what team they came from. All right. So they can all be from one team. Exactly.
Like for basketball.
Or they can all be from different teams, and that's the best of the best. So I guess there is already a way to view that. So my question would be, if we're already able to view it, then why would we need more of it, I guess? But I mean, I see why they would do it. I'm just saying, like, hey, we already have that kind of. So, you know what I mean?
And I can see why they want to do it too, because that means they get more money.
Yeah, obviously.
I mean, you get less. Right. You when you're putting the money into the owner table, you get more money if there are less
bigger
teams.
Chunk. Yeah,
so.
Right.
Right. The pie.
I mean, if you take the
less.
Yankees and the Cubs and the Dodgers, and again, the Mets, the Red Sox, and the other top teams in the league in one place, who's going to get the better TV deal? That league, or the team, or the league with Milwaukee and
Seattle,
right? Detroit, and whatever. But yep,
it's an interesting concept.
it is an interesting concept. And I would love to talk about my amazing baseball idea where they follow basically what European soccer does. And teams can get relegated and move up like from AAA to AA and
that
kind of thing.
Why not?
And I would love to talk about that more because I think baseball is the only one you could really do it in. Maybe basketball, but those are the two. So we'll put that on a topic list to talk about next time. And or sometime in the future. And
one of those episodes coming up where we're like, we don't have anything.
We don't have anything.
About.
Yeah.
Yeah, we thought that was going to be today, but then I think we figured something out.
Yeah.
Besides the draft, we really didn't have much else, and then we figured it out.
Yeah. We just roll into things sometimes. So
yeah.
All right. Any wise words from you, CJ, that you'd like to wrap up with?
One word answer. I don't want this to be long. You don't need an explanation. What wide receiver of the first round is going to be the top fantasy guy?
Top fantasy guy, Smith.
Because
are you saying like the guy who's going to score the most?
Fantasy points at the end of the season.
Fantasy points.
Yeah, I think it's going to be
Smith.
I think it's just going to be based off of his athleticism, really. And I think also Hurts is just going to literally feed him the ball.
Wow, I can't believe you're not going with what's his name? That's how much I believe in the guy. I can't remember his name.
Pitts.
But you know what?
He said wide receiver.
Wide receiver.
So
yeah.
That's
so,
I
wasn't thinking
pass catchers. I would have said Pitts.
No, the guy the Bengals drafted. What's his name?
Waddle?
From LSU. Come on.
Chase?
No, Waddle was the other guy. Okay.
Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that's going to be the guy. He has a connection with Burrow already. I mean, I know we were seeing that all over the place with connections happening, but I think Chase is the guy. That's my take. I don't think I don't know that Waddle's strong enough.
Right.
I mean, I think the talent is there for him, but I don't.
What about you?
I worry about him.
To like see exactly. So there's 3 main guys, right? That went in that first round, or no?
Yeah, Chase, Smith, Waddle.
Okay, so
Chase,
you got
Smith, Waddle. Yeah.
And Chase went to Cincy. Waddle went to
Miami.
And then Smith went to where?
Philly.
Okay.
Philadelphia.
Yeah, I mean, I love Burrows more than I like Hurts. So just for that fact, I have to agree with Todd and say that Chase was the guy that I'd probably go with. But I was interested in what you guys said, so that's why I wanted to know, just because I feel like you guys have a better understanding of this draft stuff than I do. So.
Oh, we'll talk plenty of fantasy as the year comes up. So
I literally stay away from wide receiver, like for draft wide receivers, just because like I don't know, you know what I mean? So but then I'll kick myself, halfway through the season when one of them is doing really well. And so that's that's why I asked. That was just the last little input I wanted to get, because I was thinking about that question for the past since the draft, so I've been wanting to ask it.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah. No, I think Jamar Chase is special. Yeah. So
I'm with it. It's cool.
Cool.
First round.
No
overall,
wise
that's
words.
What I'm taking.
All right. Go for it. You're going to be in our league. Definitely.
He said now my league's going to be easier now. So.
I mean, the only thing I'll say, as always, we appreciate you for watching. We appreciate you guys for being around. We appreciate CJ for being here with us. We wish Paul a quick and speedy recovery. And, as always, stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy.
And may the 4th be with you.
Yes.
That's right.
All right, guys, let's have a good one and take care of each other. Now I have to press a button, right?